All right, welcome back to Experience Distilled. John Little and I have joined forces to help distillers face the headwinds facing our industry today. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by our very first guest, Matt McGinnis from Big Thirst. Matt, thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure.
Yeah, where are you calling in from today?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Austin, Texas. Excellent, excellent. How's the weather over there right now?
It is absolutely beautiful, mid 80s and crystal clear sky.
Nice. John, how's the weather up in West Virginia?
I don't really want to talk about the weather in West Virginia at the moment. We've had these conversations about your location in Orlando, and Matt's just making me jealous for summertime. It'll be nice here soon enough. When you guys are burning up, it'll be really nice here.
That's true. When hurricanes come, we'll be up in the mountains for sure.
John, you just got to go a little bit north to Snowshoe and you'll be happy with the snow.
Oh, there you go.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Well,
Welcome, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
Matt is joining us with from Big Thirst. And Matt, tell us a little bit about Big Thirst and what you do to help the craft distilling industry.
Yeah, Big Thirst is uh, an e-commerce infrastructure. We combine online sales with performance marketing and consulting to help distilleries and spirits brands get their products sold across the country.
Nice, nice. So, what have you seen? What everyone's down on the market right now. Everyone's talking about, this and that. Tell us what you see out there in the industry right now. What's hot? What's not?
You know, we can all cry about slowing sales, but if you think about it, take a look at the long range. Um, Per capita drinking really hasn't changed much over recorded history. And with the examples of like maybe when the Reagan era, there was a slight blip when people started drinking more. But other than that, it doesn't change a whole lot. There's the periodic waves. So we can worry a little bit about a downturn right now because of economic factors or GLP-1s or whatever it is. But that's not going to persist. People are going to continue to consume alcohol because it's fantastic. It's a part of our lives, and it has been for centuries, and millennia. So that's one thing. So what's hot? You know, Part of it, RTDs is changing how people consume spirits. A ready-to-drink cocktail, easy, and that's a fantastic thing. American whiskey has been great, strength, for the past decade or plus, and that continues to go despite hearing about overproduction and that's people are still buying it. Agave spirits just continue to be hot, and gin, as far as in the craft category, gin continues to do really well.
Hmm.
For us specifically, online sales are, that's our bread and butter. That's what we do. And as a category of total sales, e-commerce is outpacing any other sales category in spirits or wine or beer, really. Alcohol sales online are growing, just spirits in particular, growing about 20% between 2023 and 2028. 20% means about $6 billion dollars in the US, going to $36 billion dollars in the next 2 years. That's a lot of money of people spending online. And why is that? Part of it is people expect to be able to buy anything they want online. You know, you hear the term digital native, and that's anybody who was born, um, you know, since you've been able to buy online. And you think of, oh, kids these days. Digital natives are people 45 years old and younger. So it's not kids, it's middle-aged people, So 85% of the people in the US shop online. So if you're
Wow.
able to buy, anything online, of course you want to buy your favorite whiskey. Of course you want to buy your favorite tequila. You want to buy your RTDs online. And consumers don't realize that there's a lot of complexity and laws and challenges to selling online different than there is to buying your groceries. It's not quite the same. So as an industry, we have hurdles to overcome, but Big Thirst makes that really easy for suppliers, and really easy for consumers. So they don't have to worry about it. They don't even know. They go to a website, they order, shows up at their house, they're happy. So that
Yeah.
companies like ours are enabling that 20% increase in online sales. So while the market writ large, spirit sales might be flat or slightly down or just slightly up, online sales are doing this.
Wow, that's great. So
Yeah. So
tell
if you're a
me,
distillery, where do you want to put your dollars? Do you want to, spend a lot of money on, trying to open a new market and, getting a new distributor, more brand ambassadors, hiring people, and, bunch of new material? Or do you want to come to me and spend, a little bit of money and go online and sell all over the country?
yeah, tell me a little bit what the average consumer who buys online looks like, right? What are they buying online, right? Who's going to the Big Thirst to buy a product online? What are they buying? What's hot and selling online right now?
Yeah, so our top selling products are American whiskey by far.
Okay.
And that's partially just, a function of our client base, but it's also the reason why that is selling better is because there happens to be a lot of specialty releases, limited releases, single barrels, things like that that are hard to get in stores, and they might not be in distribution. So a distillery might choose to sell, an experimental or a finished whiskey or something really special aged online rather than like I only have, 600 bottles of this. I'm not going to try and get it in distribution, right? So whiskey hunters, whiskey aficionados, collectors look for this stuff online and it sells really, really well. And when we have clients who have a special release, a single barrel, usually a single barrel means two, three, four, five. They sell out in minutes. They
Wow.
announce it with, their email blast or with social media or whatever they do. And they say, okay, 2 o'clock on Friday, get this bottle. Boom, they're gone. And so that's what we see as a really a top seller for us. And our average checkout for a consumer, when a consumer buys something, they've got to pay for shipping. So they usually say, all right, well, I'll get 2 bottles or 3 bottles. So our average checkout price, average basket, year in, year out, is around 120 bucks.
Wow.
And end of the year it goes up because people are holiday shopping. So, fourth quarter O&D, whatever you want to call it, it goes 150, 160. But year
So,
round, it averages out to about 120. And for us, that's really darn good because we're carrying RTDs, we're carrying vodkas, we're carrying a lot of different products that are much lower cost. And so if we're getting that much in an average checkout, it means that people are buying multiple bottles, right? And
yeah.
so that's shopping online for a brand to consider is it's a not quite the commodity shopper. It's not people walking into the corner liquor store and buying a handle of vodka, right? They're looking
Sure.
for something special, something interesting, and usually a little more expensive than, the commodity thing that's just set it and forget it type of beverage. That's one thing. And then time of day, I think is really also
Hmm.
very interesting. When are people buying? It tells you a lot about the buying habits of people. It's really mid-afternoon and mid-evening. And what it is, it's people are buying on their phone. And it's when they get bored at work and they're scrolling their Instagram or their Facebook or their TikTok and they see an ad. Oh man, I want that. Or they're sitting on their couch and they're watching reality TV or something and they get really bored and like, "Wah." Second screen and they see again scrolling social media and they see an ad and they, oh my gosh, I have to have this tequila. I really want this rum. This rum sounds fantastic. I have to have it. So that's, impulse buying is a big deal, particularly among young men.
Hmm.
And we see a lot of young men or buyers, the 30 to 40 age group, buy a lot online from social media ads. And impulse buys at night are high. So,
Nice. So
let me,
you've got
like,
relatively high net worth individuals buying high dollar, rare, premium products. That
yes,
sounds perfect for a craft distillery to be thinking about selling those limited
exactly.
edition bottles. Interesting.
Exactly.
All
And,
right. Well,
people
Tim,
really want stuff that they can't find in their corner store. So that really helps out craft distilleries.
nice. All right. Well, John, did you have any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned two things I think, which were Um, you mentioned how the fact that, for instance, it's better off for a small craft distiller to be able to go through DTC as opposed to go into a variety of markets and trying to spend that money, right? So it's a return on your investment.
Right.
So, so I think about that a lot. A small brand starts out, they make an announcement and they have friends, let's say they have friends and fans in 10 states. Well, it's not feasible to launch in 10 states. No small brand can do that efficiently, right? It's the first thing that people are like, when can I get it in Florida? When can I get it in Texas? When can I get it in New York? Well, you can't get it in all those places unless you're going to DTC, correct? So
Correct.
so, I mean, at least immediately, you can grow into that, right? But you need to have a strategic plan to grow as opposed to just being everywhere all at once. Do you think the biggest benefit to craft distillers is the accessibility of the product in those variety of markets or the access to the consumers in those markets? Or do you think it's increased margin by going direct to consumer as opposed through, or is it something else? What do you think is the single biggest benefit for a craft distiller to start using
The
direct to
the
consumer?
two biggest benefits, one is accessibility. So being able to get to new markets is by far the number one benefit. And that's why anybody would think about it first. I want to be able to sell in Washington State and I'm in Florida. And that's the first thing people would think about is just nationwide coverage. And but the second is this is really important is data.
Ah,
You get information about your customers. And I tell you, we started Big Thirst as a marketing agency in 2014. So we're coming up on our 12-year anniversary. And so, marketing lives in breeze data. You cannot do good marketing without understanding your consumer, right? And you refine your advertising and all your campaigns based on the information you get from your sales. Online sales give you all kinds of information. And if you harvest it correctly and you monitor it correctly and you understand it, then you can give it a feedback loop and use it way better to improve your sales. So you understand your
yeah,
demographics, you understand where people are buying, when they're buying, how they're buying, and what they really want. And so when we started our e-commerce platform, it was during the pandemic. A lot of people, when COVID hit, they're locked in their house and they started sourdough starter. I started another business. um, Same thing, right? But anyway, we took our marketing agency and our consulting company and said, what do we do to help our clients whose route to market are closed? And online sales was it, right? And so when we went and looked at other companies who are out there doing it, who are now our competitors, the first thing that we looked at was what data can we get to help our clients do better? And we were dissatisfied with all of them. And so we're like, well, let's start our own because we know we can do better because as marketers, we need more information. And we know we can help our clients do better with their sales if we give them better information. So we built a data dashboard and we feed them what they need to know on demographics, on sales, on their marketing, everything they can so they can do better email marketing, better lookalike advertising, all kinds of things that our competitors don't do because we think differently. But data is, there's an analyst firm in the UK, IWSR, which I think it was one of the better ones in the industry for spirits. That's also what they say. You know, sure, you get money for selling online, but the data is as rich. If you use it, it's just as important as that money you get from sales. So we understand that too, and a lot of our clients do too, and that's why they come to us.
Wow, very cool.
amazing.
And also if something doesn't sell, that's also feedback, right? If something is
Yep.
just not selling in a market or despite paid social media ads, despite efforts online, targeted media, email, if something isn't selling, that's also good feedback, right?
Yep.
Well, Matt, thank you so much for the introduction to Big Thirst and tune in to next episode to talk about how to set up your DTC account. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.
Thank you.